A loaf of bread, about 15 cents. A gallon of gas, around 25. A brand new house, somewhere near $7,000. A first-class stamp, 3 cents. A movie ticket, a couple of dimes. And a bottle of Coca-Cola, ice cold from the machine, a nickel. 1950. Those are the numbers everybody quotes, and they sound like a fantasy. But a price by itself tells you almost nothing. 15 cents for bread only means something if you know what 15 cents was, how hard you had to work to earn it. So today we're not just going to list old prices, the way everybody does. We're going to do the thing that actually matters. We're going to put those prices next to what people earned. Because the real question isn't, what did it cost? It's, how much of your life did you have to trade to buy it? And that answer will surprise you in both directions. Some things were absurdly cheap, and a few things were far harder to afford than you think. Let's go. First, let's set the wage, because every price in this video hangs on it. In 1950, the average American family brought in somewhere around $3,000 to $3,300 a year. A man working a factory job might make around $1, maybe $1.25 an hour. That's roughly $50 to $60 for a full week's work. A school teacher earned maybe $3,000 a year. A brand new engineer, a bit more. A farmhand or a maid, far less. Hold that number in your head. About $60 a week for a working man. Now, let's go shopping in 1950. And every time I give you a price, quietly ask yourself, how much of that $60 did it eat? Start at the grocery store, because this is where 1950 feels cheapest and where the surprise is hiding. Bread, about 15 cents a loaf. Milk, around 80 cents to $1 for a gallon, delivered to your porch. A dozen eggs, roughly 60 cents. A pound of ground beef, around 30 cents. Coffee, well under $1 a pound. A whole chicken, which was more of a treat than it is now, maybe 50 cents a pound. Sounds like heaven, right? But here's the surprise nobody tells you. Food ate up a much bigger share of the family budget than it does today. The 1950 family spent close to a third of its income on food. Today, it's more like a tenth. So yes, the individual prices look tiny, but the family felt food as a major expense because wages were small too, and because there were no cheap processed shortcuts. You bought raw ingredients and cooked everything. A housewife could spend $20, $25 a week on groceries, and on a $60 paycheck, that was a serious chunk. The cheap-looking grocery bill was actually one of the heaviest things in the budget. Now the house, because this is where 1950 genuinely wins. The median price of a home in 1950 was somewhere around $7,000. Set that against a family income of roughly $3,000 a year, and a house cost a little over 2 years of income. A little over 2 years. Today, depending on where you live, a house costs 5, 6, 7, sometimes more than 10 times a family's annual income. That is the single biggest change in this entire video, and it isn't close. The 1950 house was reachable for an ordinary working family in a way it simply is not now. The mortgage might run $50 or $60 a month, about a week's pay per month for that factory worker. Housing was a manageable slice of life, not the thing that devours everything else. Now the car. A new car in 1950 ran somewhere around $1,500, give or take by model. That's roughly half a year's income for the average family. Today, the average new car costs closer to 3/4 of a year's median income. So cars were more affordable then, but be honest about what you got. That 1950 car had no seatbelts, drum brakes that faded on a long hill, no air conditioning, and it would rust to pieces in 10 years. You paid less, and you got far less, and it was far more likely to kill you. Both of those things are true at once. And gasoline, around 25 to 27 cents a gallon. Filling the tank cost a couple of dollars. But remember, most families had exactly one car, because one earner drove to work and everything else was within walking distance. The cheap gas mattered less than you'd think because people simply drove less. Let's do the small stuff because the little prices are the ones that really land. A first-class stamp, 3 cents. A newspaper, a few cents. A cup of coffee at a diner, a nickel with free refills. A hamburger, 15 or 20 cents. A movie ticket, around 40 to 50 cents, and it bought you a newsreel, a cartoon, and often 2 full features. A bottle of Coca-Cola, 5 cents, and that nickel price had held, almost unbelievably, for about 70 years. A man's dress shirt, a couple of dollars. A nice suit, maybe 30 or 40. A Ringer washing machine, around 150. A television set, brand new, and a genuine luxury in 1950, could run $200 to $300, which on a $60 weekly wage was several weeks of a man's entire pay for one screen. The gadget everyone wanted was the one thing that really hurt to buy. Now here's a category we always leave out and shouldn't. What things cost that we've forgotten to be grateful about? Having a baby in 1950, the whole hospital stay might run around $100 to $200 total. A visit to the doctor, a few dollars. A day in the hospital, maybe 15 or 20. Medical care was cheap enough that a working family could actually pay it out of pocket, in cash, often on a handshake. Set that against today, and it stops being nostalgia and becomes something closer to grief. Healthcare is the price that didn't just rise, it left orbit. What a family once paid out of a single week's wages can now end a family's finances entirely. And college, a year at a state university, tuition, room and board might run a few $100s, and a student could genuinely earn most of it with a summer job. That door was open in a way it has since slammed shut. Let's linger on the things that have completely vanished from the modern budget, because 1950 had expenses we don't, and we have expenses 1950 couldn't imagine. Start with what they paid that we don't. Very little, honestly. There was no cable bill, no internet bill, no cell phone bills times 4, no streaming subscriptions stacked on top of each other, no monthly fee for software, for cloud storage, for apps. The 1950 family's fixed monthly bills were a short list: rent or mortgage, electricity, water, gas, the phone if they had one, and insurance. That was it. That was the whole list. Now add up what a modern family pays every single month just for connectivity and subscriptions before they've bought a thing: the phones, the internet, the streaming, the rest. It's a number that would have made a 1950 family gasp. An entire category of permanent monthly expense was invented, and no one handed us a raise to cover it. But now let's be fair the other direction, because 1950 had costs we've largely escaped, and we forget them. Clothing was expensive and took real money, which is why people owned so little of it and mended what they had. Appliances were a major purchase you saved for. Long-distance phone calls were so costly that families rationed them, talking fast on Sunday when rates dropped, because a long chat with a relative across the country could cost real money by the minute. And things broke and got repaired rather than replaced, which sounds charming until you realize it's because replacing them was so expensive. Here's a strange one. Entertainment was cheaper in one sense and dearer in another. That nickel Coke and 40-cent movie were cheap, but there was no cheap, endless entertainment fire hose. You didn't have 1,000 hours of anything at your fingertips for a flat monthly fee. Entertainment was an occasion you paid for, and then it ended. We pay more in total for entertainment now, but we get a genuinely bottomless supply of it, which is either a bargain or a trap, depending on how you look at it. And let's talk about debt, because this is the quiet giant. In 1950, consumer credit barely existed the way it does now. Credit cards were essentially not a thing yet. If you wanted something, you saved for it, or you bought it on layaway. You paid a little each week and took it home only when it was fully paid off. You did not have the thing while you paid for it. The entire modern architecture of buy now, pay later, pay interest forever hadn't been built. Families owned less, but they also owed almost nothing. And that absence of debt was a kind of wealth that never showed up in any income statistic. That's worth sitting with. A 1950 family with a small paycheck and a nearly empty house might have been, in one crucial way, richer than a modern family with a big income and a full one. They weren't carrying a mountain of debt into every month. They owed the bank for the house, and that was often the whole of it. So let's step back and do the honest accounting, because a fair look at 1950 has to hold two things at once. Here's what was genuinely better: housing, healthcare, and education. The three things that crush modern families were all within reach of an ordinary wage. You could buy a house, see a doctor, and send a kid to college without borrowing your future away. That's real, and it's not nostalgia, it's arithmetic. But here's the other side, and it's just as real. That $60 paycheck was small, and it bought a much thinner life than we have now. The 1950 family had one car, not two. A much smaller house, often with one bathroom for 5 or 6 people. A single telephone on the wall, if they had one at all. No air conditioning in most homes. One television, if any, and 3 channels on it. A closet with a fraction of the clothes we own. They ate out a few times a year, not a few times a week. They took one modest vacation, usually to relatives, and they threw almost nothing away because everything was dear. Their money went further on the big things and bought far less stuff. Our money buys mountains of things and can't touch the big things. That's the trade, laid out plainly, and I don't think anyone consciously agreed to it. And there's one more piece of honesty this video needs. Those low 1950 prices were not low for everyone, because not everyone earned that average wage. Millions of Americans, black families, farm workers, women doing the same jobs as men, earned far less, were shut out of the good jobs and the cheap mortgages entirely. And for them, that affordable house on that friendly street was often simply not for sale at any price. The cheap 1950 we get nostalgic about was cheapest for the people who were already allowed in. So what did a $1950 really buy? It bought security on the things that matter most: a roof, a doctor, a schoolroom, and it bought them for an ordinary person doing ordinary work. It could not buy the abundance we swim in now, the screens and the flights and the endless choices. It bought less stuff and more stability. And we made the opposite trade, mostly without noticing. We filled our homes with more than any 1950 family could dream of, and we quietly lost the ability to easily afford the house those things sit in. Let me put the whole thing in one vivid picture, because numbers slide off the mind and pictures stick. Imagine that factory worker on a Friday in 1950, holding his week's pay, about $60, in cash, in a little envelope, because that's how you got paid. Now watch where it goes. A big chunk, maybe a quarter of it, goes to the week's groceries to feed a family of 5. Call it another chunk toward the monthly mortgage, spread across the weeks. A few dollars for gas and the odds and ends. A little set aside, and this is the part that's gone now, a little actually set aside, in cash, in a savings account or a jar, because a working man in 1950 could genuinely save a piece of a $60 check. That's the picture that's hardest to reproduce today. An ordinary earner at the end of an ordinary week with a little left over. Not because he was richer, he wasn't. His life was smaller than yours. But the big three, the roof, the doctor, the school, weren't yet eating the whole animal. There was something left at the end of the week. And that something, saved week after week, is how a factory worker bought a house, and how that house got passed to his kids. We didn't lose that because money stopped working. We lost it because the price of the essentials climbed a mountain, while the paycheck stayed in the valley. The Coke is still cheap, the house is not. And the difference between those two facts is the whole story of what happened to the American dollar. Now I want your numbers, because you or your parents lived this. What did something cost when you were young? Your first house, your first car, a gallon of gas, a loaf of bread? And what did you earn at the time? Put both in the comments, with the year and the place, because a price without a wage is only half the story. And together, all of you know the real history of this country better than any chart I could show you. Until next time, take care of yourselves.